later, and I'll give it. And for all the audience, the topic right now on play is how to avoid the cognitive bias.
Let me try to share my screen. And
Yes.
before I think I don't know
Okay.
how.
Second right button. There will be four buttons. Second right
Yeah, I
next to settings.
right. So
It just
I
takes
want to
2 or
share.
3 seconds.
Yeah, I want to share a different screen basically. I have some notes, so I want to.
Hmm.
But now the issue will be if I make it full screen, then I will lose my. Okay. Uh,
Yeah.
can you see my screen
Yes.
now? But now I lost you guys because my two screens are completely blocked with this full screen. Anyway,
No problem. Carry.
yeah. So uh, yeah. So today's topic is basically how actually eliminating that unconscious bias in our design thinking. So first of all, I'm not able to see whoever is there in um, live with us, and it would be really great if you guys can just put a small intro that your name, from where you are, and from which company you are representing. Then the conversation will be really interesting. Yeah. So unconscious bias. We as a human, we always have bias, whether in design or not. We have bias because this is how we are, and 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 this is how human being actually react. The same thing actually impact in the design itself. So before jumping into the topic, let me tell you about a small about myself. And by the way, this content is heavily inspired by D school because I did some research and I try to map with my own uh, practical knowledge. And then I found that the way D school basically explain this, it's quite interesting. So I picked up a lot of things from there. And at the end of this session, I will share a whole bunch of resources. I may not cover all these resources within this time, but I'll share after this presentation, maybe here or maybe in my LinkedIn or in my YouTube or in my Twitter channel. So you guys can go and download that. Those are very interesting resources. A little bit about me. I am basically a UX and product designer currently working with Zomentum. As you have seen, I wrote a line, whether I went to college or not, I will always learn. So basically, I never went to college. Last more than 12 years, I'm working in this particular industry. And I started my journey from a hardware shop where I used to assemble PCs, and now I'm a product designer. And I'm quite active on LinkedIn, and I have a small YouTube channel. I give the link. If you guys are interested, please do connect with me. Okay, so here's a small question that whoever is there, how many triangles are there? I cannot see your answer, but if Hari, you can share that how many people actually are giving answer and
Yeah.
what are the answers are there. My question is, how many triangles are there? Quick. It's a quick question. It should be a little interactive, not like me talking. Come on, guys, tell
Uh,
me.
that's 8, 6, and 1.
These all are the answer came?
Yeah, these are the three answers that we have
Okay,
till now.
cool, cool, cool,
7
cool.
now.
Okay, cool. So this is the answer. There are zero triangles. What happened? Our brain fills the line where it wants to see the triangle. I'll go back to that slide once again. If you notice, there is no triangle, but
Mhm.
unconsciously we create triangles. right?
Yeah.
So here it's basically zero triangles, but our brain feels in line where it wants to see the triangles, and that's basically, that's how our brain works. Our brains are built to be biased, and this can, negatively impact in our design, in our product design, or in our UX design. When I say negatively impact, imagine the moment I ask how many triangles are there, we quickly put a thought that okay, there are these many number of triangles are there, and we can quickly start giving the answer. But actually, there is no triangles. So our brain actually process the information quickly, and without any second thought, we started giving the answer, and that's basically a negative impact. So, unconscious bias is the result of the way the brain works, actually automatically, and we make some certain decision without thinking. And that is basically, programmed and make more quick decision, which we have just seen, right? So our brain, plays some tricks on us to make some judgment, to make this kind of judgment, right? So why our brain is doing that? Our brain can only process so much information at once. These shortcuts actually evolved to help, you know. So when I say our brain can only process so much information at once, you know what? A psychologist, a professor of psychology, Timothy Wilson, he mentioned that our brain can actually take around 11 million pieces of information at any given point of time, but it can only process 40, right, at a time. So when you see something in the design or in any real life world, you cannot process all the information. So you are making the kind of results or the kind of judgment you are bringing. That's the only 40 that you are processing, and you are giving that output quickly, and that's happening in your brain. So as a result, what happened is we have developed a filtration mechanism to handle all this incoming data in our brain, and using a series of mental shortcuts, and we are able to make this decision and move through the world without getting overwhelmed, right? I'll give one more example. There's a bat and there is a ball. A bat and a ball cost $1.50. The bat is $1 more than the ball. So how much is the ball cost? Can you guys tell me?
One
The bat,
one right.
yes, the
Oh,
ball.
oh, 50.
So the bat is $1 more than the ball. How much is the ball cost?
It's half a dollar.
Quickly.
So 50 cents.
Okay. Any more answers from the audience? Okay.
This is
I
what we have right now.
okay. So the answer is the ball is 0.25 dollar, and the bat is 1.25, and the total is 1.50. Now, when I ask this question, many people will say that the bat is $1, and that's the fact. And in fact, it is not the actual cost, because when my question was there, the bat is $1 more than the ball. So it's not exactly $1. So we are processing information very quickly in our brain, and we are coming into that conclusion. So what is happening is that $1.5, which make it $1 more than the ball, which is basically, $0.25. And this is unconscious bias. Our brain bias to the fastest solution. So we want a faster solution, and our brain gives that, and we are quickly throwing that. Okay, half a cent is the price of the ball. So why I ask all this? We all have unconscious bias. Even we and it's a natural, and it can help also, and it can also hurt. Now the question here is that what can we do about it, right? Uh, how can we actually think little extra to eliminate these unconsciousness, right? Like unconscious bias. So here the design thinking comes, and here the entire process comes. So I'll just quickly show you what I mean to say by that, because we all are creative. Remember when we were a child and we used to do one common, so we have one common subject when we are in child, that everybody start, drawing. So everybody will do the drawing. Even I have two kids, and they all do the drawing. I just recently shifted in a new house, but in my previous house, I took some picture. I'll share later on that how they drew in every wall. So they are creative. So similarly, we all are creative, and believe me or not, we know everything, but we don't do the creative things. We don't do the drawing, or we don't do the doodling, right? So when it comes to the design thinking, and when it comes to this eliminating unconscious bias, we even don't do these practical things, right? So there is a exercise which I don't want to do it right now because it will take a little bit of time, but I will suggest, if you get time, right, you sketch your partner or you sketch your friend portrait within next 10 seconds, right? You don't have to share it. But if you do that, and then you will realize that whether you are creative or not, whether you can, design or not, or your thinking is going in the design or not. So there is a book called Creative Confidence, and this book is written by Tom and David Kelly. Uh, they mention about that, many of us told earlier life that we are either creative or not. The fact is we all are creative. So if you guys are getting a chance to read this book, and you will realize that, whether it's a problem of a sales or problem of a product or problem of any design or anything, if you start drawing it, if you start, connecting these screens together, or maybe if you start drawing it and try to get the solutions, you will actually land in a particular solution, right? So you will feel that the problem is actually very less, and you have started, putting them in a very uh, step-by-step manner, and you are actually getting the solutions. And I'll give one more example. I'll just quickly go to another example, then you will understand what I mean to say by that. Look at this photo. This it's a recent example of a Chinese man in New Zealand who could not have his passport photo recognized in the online system. You know what? Because there was an error, which is like they're saying subject eyes are closed, right? It's a little funny, but look at this. When we designed this system, we didn't, realize that all different aspects of, or all different use cases or the scenarios. And this is basically reading by a machine. So now we are moving towards more towards machine learning and artificial intelligence and all. So if we are biased towards our own thought, and if we think that this is something going to use by the user always, and this is how my user will react, then you will land in these kind of scenarios where you are trying to recognize yourself in an online passport photo system, and uh, like this example, a Chinese man who uploaded this, and your system will not able to recognize because the subject's eyes are closed. So one more example is like Alexa. We have seen in our home or in our office where we are not basically, our first language is not basically English, but when we try to engage with Alexa, what we have seen that Alexa commands are always try to recognize that fine line English, even in the case of Siri, right? Now slowly they are moving into like the localized languages or localized English languages. But if you look at this conversation interface, which has programmed with unconscious bias, assuming that all end user will speak and sound the same. But in reality, it is not. In reality, it is something different. So in a SaaS product also, I will quickly show you one more example from my own company's design. Then you will realize that how much we did a research from the users, and then we change something, a very tiny change, but that impact a lot to our user. And that is basically, we are that's how we are actually eliminating that bias, right? So what we have to see, we have to see the variety of the perspective of the users, other than our own. So when we work on a UX design project or in a product design, so we see the work from, we have to see the work from a variety of perspective than our own, because we don't know how will different type of user or the kind of uh, things they will perceive in this experience. And the most important part is with every click, designers are challenged to imagine their work through the eyes of another person. The idea is that the more perspective we embrace as we build, the more inclusive our work will be done. So it is not just that I saw one solution and I implement it. No, then you are not eliminating your bias, or you are just putting your unconscious bias. You have to look for a variety of solutions, a variety of perspective, basically, you know and then this will actually help your user to use your product seamlessly and you know smoothly. So as we all are creative and we have unconscious bias, and this is a time you have to think like a designer, because if you think like a designer, then you will see that a lot of problems are getting solved without any like a big headache or without any big challenge. So one more important part is, as a designer, we have the responsibilities to ensure that what is being created has consideration for the diversity of the audience. So how we will do that? So we have to do three important things. One is we have to do prototype, we have to test it, and we have to iterate it from a different inputs or from a different angle. It's not just about one prototype. You have to do a prototype for variety of use cases, variety of angles, and then you have to test with your users or with your team member, with your variety of segments of user, and then only you can eliminate your uh, unconscious bias. So, will this stop? If we do all this, then will this stop? No, we can't and we should not stop unconscious bias. But this should actually help you to become more aware and you know to identify and communicate your assumption instead of assuming that this will happen. If you do these steps, then maybe it will you know eliminate some of your assumptions, and you will get more aware about what you are thinking. So that's all from my side. That's the lecture. I'm not a very good at giving the lecture, but I am a good at doing the practical thing. As I mentioned earlier, that I'll show you one small simple thing which we did in our Zomentum application, which is our very which this screen is basically a very crucial screen for our user. And we did a very small changes there after a lot of research, and our users are now really happy. They don't have any problem to find something. They don't have any issues to identify where the things are. So let me show you that, and then if you guys have any questions, please let me know. I will be happy to answer them. And I'm sure you can see my Figma screen. I am talking, and without any Figma, then it's not a good talk. So I have to show Figma here. Okay, so this is our one of the crucial screen. Basically, this is our document builder, and here a lot of things are happening. If you notice in the right side, we place a 3 dot, but we added a text called more, because we have seen that our users who are basically more than 40 years old, and they are not typically pro tech savvy. They are mostly uh, business people, and they had a very difficult time to identify the other options whatever there in that 3 dots. So when we put this more, just this text when we added, and we get lot of clarity for our user, and they all are now happy, and they have no difficult time to find extra information, whatever is there inside that 3 dots menu or under that more options. So this is one we slightly did, and our users are super happy now. One more thing we did, that inside app we did a back button itself, because our this is a SaaS product, and this application runs on browser, and a lot of time uh, when your application is running, and technically if users are actually clicking on the browser's back button, then what happened, it it can mess up if your technical strength is not clearly defined. Then we had a discussion with our tech team, and the tech team said that we need some solutions which will actually help user to navigate through uh, inside our application. So then we thought, okay, instead of relying on the browser's back button, let's give a back option from our application itself. So these two small things, really help our user to navigate and to identify and find more information what they are actually looking from this screen. So yeah, so this is how we also eliminate our own unconscious bias. And of course, we did testing, we did a lot of prototype, and then we came into this solution. Thank you so much, guys, and let me know if you have some questions. I will be happy to answer. I'm not sure whether you enjoyed it or not.
We enjoyed it. We enjoyed it. Sure. And so, guys, any questions? Rakesh is an expert in Webflow and Figma. So if you guys need anything, he's the guy who runs the local chapter. You could just go to him.
Yeah. So I'm not expert. I'm a learner, but yeah, for Webflow and Figma, I also run a small community, and where it's basically we are now a little bit of slowdown, but I think we'll come back soon because a lot of things are
Yeah,
happening, and we will.
I think it's very important, Rakesh. Right now, if you have to go outside, outsource it, then a website development comes at are so expensive when you could just do it with Webflow yourself.
Right, right,
Yeah.
correct.
No codes are taking the world in this
I
case.
will not take the name, but almost 6, 7 founders came to me in last 2 to 3 weeks, and they have particularly different use cases. Hey, how can I actually do this? How can I do this? And they talk about the real problem that because your website is your marketing channel, and a lot of times your marketing people wanted to update and change the content. So what happened if if you are building something on a platform which is easily accessible by the non-tech people, then it's very easy for your marketing team to go and update it quickly. And so I had to actually give the demo to them that how it changed, and how you can go and update that and all. So yeah, but today's session, this unconscious bias, it's a very heavy session. I will share some of the resources as I mentioned earlier. Even I will share the main chat also. Please download that, and there are some playing cards are also there. You can actually play with your team, and you can eliminate a lot of unconscious bias from uh, yourself.
So I'll get that from you, Rakesh, and I'll send it
Sure,
out with our emailer so that
sure,
everybody has that. Okay. Thank you.
sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time today, and hope to see you more. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Hari, and thank you all of you who have joined. Talk to you soon. Bye bye. Take care.
Bye.